Welcome to Let's Do It 4.23. In this LDI, you get to have a little bit of fun. They ask you to go in and using a timer or a clock or something for 1 minute, X out as many of these boxes as you can in 1 minute with your right hand. So you're going to come in here and you go like this, and you time yourself and get your watch out of your clock, or there's a timer on the web you can use, and see how many of those you can do with your right hand in 1 minute. Then they ask you to switch hands. I'll go ahead and do that and try and do it with your left hand. I don't even know if I can do this with my left hand because I'm a right-handed person. Okay, oh, that looks just horrific. And what you can see already is that the quality of my fine motor skills with my left hand, which is my non-dominant hand, is not nearly as good as it is with my right hand. And so we would suspect that the relationship between these two variables, when we take and plot these two quantitative variables, is such that the right hand should be a larger number than the left hand, okay? If you're right-handed, and if you're left-handed, then the left hand should be a larger number than the right hand, okay? And it should be a positive linear association here, because as your right hand, if you have a higher speed with that, we'll assume that you must have a higher speed with your left hand, okay? All right, so they're going to ask us to record your class's data, X being the number of boxes marked out with your right hand, Y being the number of boxes with your left hand, and then construct a scatter plot of the data on your calculator. Then draw the 45-degree line where X and Y would equal on your scatter plot. This line would generally divide the observation into two groups. What are these two groups? We can kind of predict already. That's going to be the left-handed folk and the right-handed folk. If you need to hire a person, and etc. Well, we'll get to the rest, to B, C, and D here in a minute. Let's go get onto the calculator because that's going to be the important part, okay? So let's see, getting the calculator up here for you. And give me a second, I'll get my data up here. Now this data I collected from the class from my CR. We had not quite as much participation as I would have hoped. We only got 21 people who replied by the time that it was requested, but that'll be enough to make our point, so we'll go ahead and roll with that, okay? So if you go ahead and click on your stat key, and we go into edit, we're going to go ahead and create a couple new lists. Now I've already kind of gotten a little bit ahead here of you. That what you need to do is get on top of L6, and once you're on top of L6, hit a right arrow one more time, and when you do that, it'll open up a new list for you. And the list that I would like to call this, the name I'd like to call this, is RH for right hand. Okay, so that was the times key and the caret key. So hit an enter there, and that'll call that list RH, and then let's hit the right arrow, and let's go call this one LH, okay, for left hand. So I'll call that one LH, and hit an enter. Okay, so now I've created two new lists, and I'm going to use these lists in later demonstrations, so that's why I'm making names for them. If this was disposable data, or data I was only going to use for this problem, then I probably would have just put them in L1 and L2 respectively, okay? Alright, so let's go ahead and enter in the right hand data, and you need to play along at home here. You need to get your data entered in also. So let's go ahead and go down the list, and I'm just going to put in the right handers. So we got 67, 95, 100, 80, 90, 98, 113, 90, 100, 101, 94, 91, 120, 103, 95, 81, 90, 75, 96, and 100. Okay? Alright, so now that we've got those 20 right-hand numbers in, let's go get the left-hand numbers. Let's go ahead and start off with the first number here, which is 40, and 60, 54, 52, oops, on 52 there, 49, 66, 52, 52, 67, 65, 48, 63, 75, 66, 35, 104, 68, 37, 60, and 64. Okay? All right, now this is a set of bivariate data. That means each subject, we got a single ordered pair from each subject. In other words, we took 2 measurements from one subject, which results in a whole bunch of ordered pairs. In this case, there's 20 ordered pairs here. Now, what's important to realize is that these numbers are linked, okay? So in other words, this 96 goes with this 60. This 104 goes with this 81. It would be a real mistake to sort the left-hand and the right-hand data and thereby breaking that link. So make sure you don't do that, okay? All right, now I'm going to go ahead and clear my keypress history here so you can see what I'm doing in the next step. Now that we've got the data entered, we're going to go into the stat plot menu, okay? So to do that, we're going to hit a second, and then go into the y equals menu, okay? Once we're in the y equals menu, go ahead and click enter to get into plot 1. I'm going to turn plot 1 on. Then we'll hit the down arrow and we'll select a scatter plot. Now to be able to select that, you got to hit enter again, okay, to highlight that plot, okay? And now notice that XList and YList is opened up. So we want to put in the XList as being our right-hand data. Now to get to that, we're going to hit second and then hit the stat key. When you hit second and stat, notice you get the names of all of the lists that are currently stored in your calculator. Okay, we'll scroll down here to list number 8. That's our right-hand data. And then for our Y list, we know that's going to be our left-hand data. So I'm going to go second list, and we'll go get list number 7 here. Okay. Okay, paste that in. All right, there we go. Now the next one is the mark that you decide to use, and that's just a style thing. You have to decide whether or not you want the little boxes, you want the pluses, or you want the little teeny dots. The easiest ones to see are the little boxes, so we'll stay with that default mark, okay? All right, now that we've got that all set up, we're just going to go ahead and do a zoom and a stat. But before you do that, go check your y is equals menu and make sure you've got nothing in y1 through y0, otherwise you get all the strange stuff plotted on there. We're going to come back in a minute and put something that we do want to be plotted on there, but for now we want this empty. Okay, so press zoom and scroll down to option number 9. Option number 9 is zoom stat or zoom statistics, and voila, we get this fabulous scatter plot, okay? Now, what we see in the scatter plot is that there does appear to be a positive linear trend. In other words, if you're faster with your right hand, it's pretty likely you'll be faster with your left hand, all right? It's got a bit of scatter in it, but nonetheless, it does appear as we go from the left to the right, the data points are going up. We also see this one unusual data point right here. Well, that one unusual data point right there, we know that that's got to be our left-handed person that's in the class, okay? All right, now they ask us to do one more thing. Hit the y equals and put an X in Y1, okay? So Y equals X is the identity line or the 45-degree line that says if you fall on that line, you're ambidextrous, because that means your left-hand number of boxes would be the same as your right-hand number of boxes. If you're below that line, it's very likely that you're right-handed. If you're above that line, it's very likely that you'll be left-handed. So let's go ahead and take a look at that, and sure enough, everybody below the line will be the right-handed folks, and the one person above the line was our left-handed person. Okay. Let's go back to answering the other additional questions they asked us to do. By the way, you can also produce this graph in Excel. I've put some new links on MyCR that you may have not seen that give some links to using Excel to doing plots. You might want to go check that out. It's well worth your time learning how to use Excel. That's a course unto itself, though, and I'm not going to be doing any demonstrations of that here unless I get copious requests. Okay, so let's go back and see if we can answer the questions here. So we constructed our scatter plot. For now, you can just go ahead and make me a sketch of that, okay? Since it was asked to do it on your calculator, you can make me a sketch of what you see on the screen. If this was something you were turning into an employer, though, you would really want to do that either in Excel or you're going to do that in some sort of a graphing package. You do not want to do these by hand or give sketches if you're going to be, getting some money out of it. Okay, so we drew in the 45-degree line. What can we say about the two groups, okay? Is that what we can say is that the left-handed folks are above the line, right? And you similarly could say that the right-handed folks were below it if you wanted to, but that's enough, okay? If you needed to hire a person who could write quickly and well with both hands, which person would be selected? And let's go back and take a look at our graph here. Well, we'd want somebody who could write quickly with both hands. Looking like I'm probably going to go with that person right there. They have the highest left and right hand score, don't they? Okay, so that person right there. Now, how do we figure out who that person was? Well, what you can do is hit trace. And when you hit trace, notice your little frog's jumping around on all the different points here, and you can keep jumping him around until he finally lands on the point you're looking for. Okay, or you can go into the actual data set and look at it that way, but it's kind of fun to do it this way. So whoever had the x equal to 120 and y equal to 75 looks like they probably would be our person. Okay, so if you needed to hire a person to write both hands, which person would you select? So, well, you could do it with the numbers, right? We could just say, okay, the person who can do 120 with their right hand and 75 with their left hand. And that'll work. That's fine. So you can say person with 120 by 75, okay? You needed to hire a person who could write quickly and well with just the right hand. Which person would you select? Well, it turns out that's going to be in our graph. That's going to be the same person, isn't it, right? Because that person also has the highest speed with the right hand. So, you can just go ahead and write the same thing down here. I'll let you do that part. Okay, a couple more things we need to talk about before we end this LDI. This shows up in the textbook, and I really want you to take the time to go through it. This is guidelines for plots, graphs, and pictures, okay? I'm just going to highlight a couple of the key concepts, and I'll let you read the rest on your own, okay? If you're doing this for the real world, you want to use a computer to produce your graph. That's huge. Don't do paper and pencil graphs. In fact, that's a skill unto itself, and it's well worth the time to take a moment to figure it out. Titles, be sure and put a title on your graph, okay? Be sure to always cite the source. Whatever you do a graph, you want to cite the source of where your data came from. Be sure and label your axes appropriately. Nothing worse than finding a graph with no labels on the axes so you can't tell what the data that's being presented, what does it mean, okay? Check to see if the axes are maintained in a constant scale. Don't jump around on your axes. If it's quantitative data, then a tick mark is a tick mark. If it's worth 5 to the first tick mark, then it's worth 10 to the next tick mark, and it's 15 to the next one. You don't get to change that. Also, always be sure when you're labeling your axes to put any units of variables that happen to be in there, okay? All right, well, that takes care of this LDI, and I'll see you back here for Chapter 5.